What's up, basketball fans, and welcome now to episode 10 of the BCL Trash Talk podcast. I'm your host, Josh Bett, and yet again, I'm with the man, the myth, the legend, Igor Curkovic. Igor, what's up, brother?
What's up, Josh? How you doing, man?
Well, the winter is coming, but you know, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, what's coming up on the show?
It's gonna be some BCL news. It's gonna be some film room, and we're gonna have the group previews of all the groups because we got a whole lot of BCL action coming up next week.
Well, first let's talk about for BCL news. I mean, Igor, it was expected. Unicaja Malaga have come to the Basketball Champions League, and they've set the standards high already. I mean, I don't need to talk about the history of this team. This team is expected to win wherever they go, whether it's the ACB, whether it's the BCL. And again, I'm not surprised, but another team that's made it into the playoffs.
They've been so dominant at home. I think they won every single game by 20 plus points. This is just like sending out a statement. We're here to win it. We're not just here to participate. We're here because we're hungry. We want more trophies to go in our club's cabinets. And I mean, it's just amazing to see them dominate so much. But other than Unicaja winning the group, there was big news last week, and the fact that we have our first play-in pairing confirmed. So obviously the system has changed. Group winners advance to the round of 16 group stage straight away. Second and third place teams play each other, and we have a key that goes teams from Group A mixed with teams with Group B, then Group C and Group D, Group E and F, and G and H. And basically with the results in Unicaja's group going that way, it means that Dijon are guaranteed to finish second, while in the other group, Bett will finish third no matter what. So Dijon are going to be up against Bett in January. It's going to be best of 3 series, and the winner advances to the next round, to the round of 16 group stage with 4 teams with 4 groups.
I love it. I absolutely love the plan because you think about last season, the groups got smaller. We had to do that because of the COVID protocols. And again, it was like a really big margin between the top 2 and the bottom 2. But right now, that third place to play for, and again, it's anyone's ball game. And right, we've got one more game here before the new year for each team. I think we need to go through these games and figure out who is possibly going to snatch up the first place, the second place, or the play-in. Why don't we go through now and look at these games? So we're going to go right now to Tuesday night. Let's start with Group H, okay? The early tip-off. We got your favorites, and probably my favorites too, Herrera San Pablo Burgos, against my favorites, led by one of my favorite players, who you keep questioning me about. Herrera San Pablo Burgos are on trail for a three-peat, but they've got to defend off against Ivan Buva and Ritas Vilnius. I mean, this is a battle for the top, isn't it? This is for a top position.
Yeah, this is winner takes all. So basically, with the way the other scores went in this group, whoever wins this one wins the group and therefore advances to the next round. So I don't know if it gets any tougher than playing Burgos in all of Europe. I mean, prior to COVID, they've been the second highest attended club in the entire Europe in all leagues, all competitions. And basically now when they have to win a game, it's gonna be a crazy atmosphere over there. And I think Burgos have a slight advantage over your favorite player in the history of basketball and Ritas Vilnius. But other than that, we got Besiktas and Oldenburg, also an important game.
I gotta tell you, man, I'm loving Oldenburg. Because if they proved anything in that last game day of the Basketball Champions League, game of the week, was that it really isn't over till it's over. Had they made that three-pointer and won the game, I was watching that thinking, why do I feel like I'm at Madison Square Garden in 1995 when Reggie Miller scored, 9 points in how long? I mean, that was phenomenal. But again, it just goes to show no one is over until the final bell has been rung. And credit to UE Baskets Oldenburg. They're going to go to Istanbul and they're going to give it everything. Yeah. What do you think?
It's going to be a close one because their first game was also a close one. But at the same time, the Besiktas have been letting some of their players go, and that way kind of opens up the space for other guys. But I mean, as long as Besiktas got Ronde Hollis Jefferson and they're playing at home, they're the favorites. And at the same time, Oldenburg can view this game like, we got nothing to lose. I mean, nobody expects us to go and win away from home when we've had such a difficult start to the season. So maybe that relaxed mindset gives them the edge against Besiktas.
All right, let's go over to Group C now. Okay, we're jumping around from group to group, but we got Lavrio. They're going to be hosting Unicaja Malaga, while also in that group, we got Nizhny Novgorod. They'll be facing GD Dijon. I got to tell you, of all those teams that have looked the least likely to go through this season, for me, it has been Nizhny Novgorod, and it pains me to say this because in previous seasons, I have loved this team so much. But if I have to pick my three that are going to finish in the top three, I got Unicaja Malaga, GD Dijon, and I think Lavrio could pull out a very desperate victory here on the road, which would then be Kalinikta for Nizhny Novgorod.
But at the same time, they're in trouble because they could have protected. They had a big lead against Nizhny in the first game in the overtime win, and they didn't protect that tiebreaker. So that tiebreaker could be crucial now because Lavrio and Nizhny could end up being tied. I mean, Nizhny could defeat Dijon. It wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the history of basketball. And if they are tied, Nizhny goes through, Lavrio goes out. So this is going to be complicated because both Unicaja and Dijon will be completely relaxed. They know they are 1 and 2 and they cannot move up nor down. So tricky situation for Lavrio, really tricky. I'm a big fan of what Tyson Carter does and what Vasilis Moratos does as their point guard. I like the combo, but could be the last that we see them.
Let's move to Group A now. It's a sending off game for Dinamo Sassari. Now, we've been with the Basketball Champions League since the very beginning in 2016. Dinamo Sassari has always been a team that competes at least to this round of the playoffs. This season, for me, the loss of Mirabalan, new coaching staff, has, again, I'm talking about Croatian big players, I know, but this is a sending off game now for Dinamo Sassari, and it disappoints me because year after year, this team has been known to knock off teams that are either very good or projected to be good. And I'm talking about the opening game of the Basketball Champions League last season when we all made a big deal about Galatasaray coming to town. Galatasaray, they went to Sardinia. Galatasaray got reminded very quickly, welcome to the Basketball Champions League by Dinamo Sassari. But this year, it's not the same team. Jason Burnell, fantastic player, but he needs other players around him. So does Manchester Benjis. They haven't had the same input that they've had in previous seasons.
It's weird because it seems like the Italian clubs are struggling this season with Sassari and Brindisi. We're used to seeing them all the way up in the quarterfinals or the playoffs or whichever format we had. And at the same time, I don't think a lot of people expected Treviso to be as good as they are. So this is a weird situation for the clubs, but Sassari, there's really not a lot to talk about in Group A. We already know that Ludwigsburg are first, Tenerife are second, Promete are third, no matter what happens. So this will be, they're going to play their games and they're going to use one eye to look on what's going on in the other groups, who are their potential matchups, and there could be some crazy stuff going on in the other group.
Group F, SIG Strasbourg, they host Filou Ostend.
Everybody expects a close game whenever you see Ostend and Strasbourg together on the court because they've played so many games in the BCL already since season 1. I think this is now their 8th game. But it's really not that close. Ostend only won once, and they won on the road. And now they need to win on the road again, and they need to win by 6 or more to finish second to have the home court advantage in the play-ins. I mean, I see it happening because I'm a big fan of Ostend and Coach Gerja, but at the same time, should we really consider this a close game when SIG kept winning all of their matchups but one so far?
I think a lot of people looked at SIG Strasbourg and thought that the loss of Bonzi Colson was going to be catastrophic for them. Many people didn't think that they were going to be able to replace him. Okay, they brought in John Robertson this season. He's been fantastic. But you only have to look at SIG Strasbourg and just see how well balanced they are. They got perimeter threats. They've got inside threats. They've got a fantastic basketball coach. And look, I am also a big fan of the animated, very charismatic Dario Georgia, your fellow countryman, and professor of basketball. Who could forget
Professor
Djordjevic? But I'm sorry, this is a Strasbourg
Doctor of basketball.
Doctor of basketball. That's it.
Okay, I mean, could be. I'm just saying, if it is, shouldn't be considered like it's a surprise because they've been dominant against Boston. But we'll see.
Well, look, if Dario Georgia is labeling Dusan Djordjevic as the doctor of basketball, I totally agree with that. I mean, he is the doctor. Then for me, downtown DeAndre Lansdowne is the surgeon of basketball. This guy knows how to repair the damage after SIG Strasbourg lost arguably the best player in the Basketball Champions League. But now let's move on again now. Let's go to Group G. This team for me is like, they're like a roller coaster. Apoel, Toulon, okay? When they are good, they are fantastic. Arguably a top 5 team in the Basketball Champions League. But when they are not on, they're not a top 5 team. They're up against Happy Casabrandizi. I expect them to win this game. This should be the game where they finish the season off well, cement their position in the playoffs.
Here's the deal. They've switched philosophies completely overnight. Basically going from being an offense-first kind of team to being an all-defense lockdown team that has, I believe it's the best defensive rating. I haven't checked it, to be honest, but this is a different kind of team that fights on defense. This is Coach Mauricio Buscaglia's kind of footprint on whatever Holland are doing all season long. But it's a bizarre group because even though we haven't got anybody tied on records, we basically don't know anything yet. So Cluj are first, but they can be caught by second place Holland, who could be caught by third place Darüşşafaka, who could be caught by fourth place Brindisi. So this is, I don't even know, like if I have to start writing about this group, I'll just probably wait for the final buzzers in both games and then start from beginning because this is gonna
we got a bigger problem because the head-to-head is equal between Darüşşafaka and Toulon. So
and that's the thing. So basically, if Darüşşafaka's win and Holland's defeat are equal to 42 points or 41, if they're equal to 41, then whoever scored the most points in the other group games advances. So this is breaking the fourth criteria for kind of final position. It was just bizarre, just so crazy, so close between them.
Look, let's go now to Group E because this group is going to be catastrophic, but we need to focus on one game, and that is Nürnberg as they take on the mighty Galatasaray. In previous seasons, I would have said that Nürnberg is a hard place to go and win, but this season, PAOK went there, got a monumental victory that was an upturn in their season. I expect Galatasaray to go there and clean it out.
Yeah, here's the deal. Galatasaray just played their game over the weekend and scored 120, which is, for Turkish league, it's a crazy amount. But it says how much they built now on an offensive firepower. And this is the trouble for Nürnberg, because if you want to run against the team, which Nürnberg usually did want, Galatasaray are not the team to be running with because they can outrun you. I mean, this is their style of basketball, so it's gonna be complicated for Nürnberg. We have the other game between PAOK and Igor postponed, so we won't know for sure until next week who's going through or not. But I think that if Nürnberg lose to Galatasaray, that it's all over in terms of who's advancing, because Nürnberg are worse than both PAOK and Igor in the potential tie. But at the same time, we still don't know who's second, who's third in that group. So until next week, we won't have all the answers for this group.
Let's move over now to Group D. Nutra Treviso, versus Ike. I was fully convinced after Ike's victory against Verfriga, the Kino Colomb game that reminded everybody who Ike were, that when they faced Falco Zombate at home, they would take care of business. But let me tell you something right now. A great game by Brian Angola, a fantastic scoring game by Eric Griffin and rebounds, went beyond the normal averages. I mean, this guy, I didn't know Eric Griffin could shoot threes. That was how amazed I was. But this team Ike, they are their biggest enemy right now. It is something about their style of play that they're unable to close games out. Talent-wise, I think they are talented enough to be one of the best teams in that group. Collectively as a unit, something just isn't right there. And I do not expect them to go to Treviso and to pick up a game against now, well, I would have said before the best, but the second best team in Group D.
Yeah, I mean, Treviso aren't in a comfortable situation. They have to win to have chances of finishing first. But Falco Zombatelli are currently the first team in the group, and that speaks volumes about the Basketball Champions League, because this is a project. A couple of seasons ago, Coach Gasper Okorn said that in their vision of the club, they want to be something like Nymburk, and they've done it so fast. I mean, they are dominant in their own championship, so that checkbox is clicked. And the other thing is, like, they're playing with 80% of Hungarian players. Basically, out of 10 rotation players, 8 of them are their own domestic players. So this is an ideal kind of a club to be competing in the Basketball Champions League, and the results are showing. And when you see Zoltan Perl being an MVP form, and you see Benedek Faradi doing his thing, this is just a solid team. And with all the respect to Treviso and Ike, I don't think that game's gonna count for anything, because somebody should win against Riga and confirm first place in that group.
Let's go to the last game we're going to talk about now. Arged Białystok Ostrov Wielkopolski versus Pinar Kashiaka. You said to me this matchup any day between the last, from now since 2016, I would have automatically said Pinar Kashiaka. They always get the best players in. They've got the best fan base. However, with a capital H, however, and an exclamation mark, not a comma. Arged Białystok Ostrov Wielkopolski, they also have fantastic fans. And here is a team that do know how to turn big teams over. They've already done it this year. They turned over Apoel. And right now, Pinar Kashiaka, they're in a bit of a roller coaster mode at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird game because Coach Igor Milicic likes to keep your offense dizzy. He changes so many defensive schemes. Manresa had a solution for every single one of them. Now with kind of do or die games, so it's going to be tough for Kashiaka to figure everything out. So this is a kind of game where guys like Bonzi Colson and Amat Mumbai have to step up and show why they are considered 2 of the top 5 players in the entire league. So basically, this is the moment for them to shine and to send last year's finalists over to the next round of the playing rounds. And basically, it's at the same time so tough for them because they could end up playing Tenerife without home court advantage in the next round of the playing pairing. So this is just I'm gonna have to. If we get Tenerife and Kashiaka in the next round, come on.
Well, we will find out. Games will be coming this week, but I think it's time right now that we go meet Diccon for the film room. Welcome now to Film Room 101. Your instructor is Diccon Lloyd-Smeath. Diccon, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, good to see you, Josh. Back again on the Film Room. How's things?
Things are going very well. I mean, look, we're coming to the end now of the regular season. The new year is upon us. But I think we need to focus on the team that's recently just bumped into the playoffs. Unikaha, you got some tactics for us. Let's start the film room.
All right, so it's game day 5 at home to Nizhny. The ball reverses and reverses again. Back screen for Axel Boutte, comes over, ISOs, turnaround, tough shot, splash, right? So if we watch that play again, all right, what we're talking about is a shuffle screen and a shuffle cut. So as the ball reverses, there's an empty paint and an empty strong side corner. We're looking at Brizuela there setting the back screen. At this angle, the 45-degree angle, that is a shuffle screen, and this is a shuffle cut under the paint. Also, obviously, Boutte is actually wide open, but this is the most Boutte thing imaginable. Takes it out and makes a very tough shot look very, very easy. Okay, so then we're going to go later on in the game in the fourth quarter. Exactly the same action, only this time it's Alonso setting the screen and his man decides to hedge, which means that he's now open to come off another screen at the top of the key. This forces one switch right here. Then it forces a second switch, or what we call a triple switch underneath, so there's no big man matchup, and a long closeout all the way to Boutte, who drives and dishes it off for an easy finish at the rim. There's one more detail we want to look at with this play, so if we rewind that back and have a look again, just notice the separation that Alonso makes here, so he has an eye line of sight to Boutte, who's already seen the switch, and he knows what's coming with the closeout, and he has the advantage there to attack. Right, so that's twice. We've already seen them get great looks out of the same action with the same player. Now we're on a sideline out of bounds. Brizuela inbounding the ball. Brizuela setting the back screen for Boutte. All right, and defense actually does a good job, stays attached. So Brizuela's at the top of the key and he's getting into a pick and roll. Really crafty decline, and he sees the overhelp on the weak side. Kicks it out. 1, 2, extra pass. Splash. Okay, that's 3 great looks from the same action in the same game. All right, now we go back to the second quarter, and I just want to talk about this cut, this hop, and this explosive jump out to decline the shuffle screen, and you just can't go under a screen on Boutte when he's in this kind of shooting frame of mind. Knock down 3. It's not often you get to see one team get the same kind of love from the same action in a game like that, and that's the shuffle offense.
Old school basketball. I absolutely love it. But where have we seen offenses like this before, Dickon?
Well, I mean, if you watch the ACB, this will be one of the most common actions you'll see, but it actually goes as far as I know, to Dean Smith in UNC, but it could be older than that. It's an action that's as old as basketball itself, so it's not new. It's just been adapted to fit into the way that we play the game now with the kind of spacing needed.
I mean, this is just another tactic in the coaching book for Unicaja. But again, the question I've got is, can they be the third Spanish team from the ACB to be true title contenders here in the Basketball Champions League?
Given, if you understand the strengths of the ACB, you can never write off any team from the ACB. Manresa as well is another team that you just can't write off, especially the way they've started. In the case of Unicaja, they play great defense. So that's always going to give you a chance in the playoffs. They may be struggling in the ACB a little right now, but it's a long season. And we saw with Murcia, they got to the Final Four whilst having a rough season in the ACB, and a lot of those players ended up with Burgos and contributing to a championship team. So absolutely you can't write Unicaja off, but let's see how they get on in the round of 16 first.
Well, Coach Dickon, thank you very much. The winter is here. The new year is upon us. One last game to go in the Basketball Champions League. We're going to sign off now. This is the BCL Trash Talk Podcast. We'll see you next week.